not a conservative. It's a joke for him to call himself a conservative. It's a Saturday Night Live skit.
Taxes is a big issue, and it's one that we face in the Commonwealth right now. I was this weekend with a family in Linfield. They're having to move from their home because they can't afford all the taxes at the state level, the federal level, and the local level. We have to make sure that we roll back our taxes.
Robert Norquist here. I'm proud to be, I think I'm the first person who's thinking about an 08 raise who signed his taxpayer protection pledge not to raise taxes, and that's easy.
Very much and adamantly opposed to tax increases. The answer is not to increase taxes. That has a doubly negative effect. It not only is depressing to the individuals that pay higher taxes, but it's depressing on the economy.
I don't believe in raising taxes, and as governor I cut taxes 19 times and didn't raise taxes. Let's step back and talk about the first part of what you said. I was fortunate enough to be a governor that got an increase in the credit rating of my state. At the same time, we got a president who got a decrease in the credit rating of our nation. And that's because our president simply doesn't understand how to lead and how to grow an economy. I was very proud of the fact that Republicans and Democrats worked together in Massachusetts to cut spending. I came in, we had a huge deficit. I went to the legislature and I said, I want expanded powers to unilaterally be able to cut spending, not just slow the rate of growth, but to cut spending, and they gave it to me, and I did. We cut spending. Every single year I was governor, we balanced the budget. And by the
what are you going to do to strengthen Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid without cutting benefits?
All right, let's get his answer. Okay, all right, you've had your chance. Anything else you want to say?
Well, I'm going to see what you're going to say.
Well, I'll tell you, the way this is going to work. The way this is going to work is that you get to ask your question, I get to give my answer. If you don't like my answer, you can vote for someone else. But now it's my turn to give my answer. You ready for my answer? I'm not going to raise taxes. That's my answer. I'm not going to raise taxes. And if you want somebody that can raise taxes, you can vote for Barack Obama.
We have to make sure our books balance, and we have to do that not by raising taxes, but by changing the way we spend money in state government. And let me tell you a couple things. One, as Shannon continues to say that I don't have real numbers, let me tell you, we work real hard on our numbers to make sure they're real numbers, and we can document them and lay them out. And something else which I want to underline, I've done it before. I've been in tough situations before. That's been part of my career. I've never been in a place where if you can't get the books to balance, you go out and raise taxes. I've been in a place where if you can't get the books to balance, you're in real trouble. I went out to the Olympics. We had a $1.5 billion budget. I knew we couldn't get there. We cut $200 million out of our budget and still put on great games. And
I look at our tax policy to see if we can't lower our rates, to make it easier and cheaper for people to save, and for having a simpler, flatter tax system.
But you may know what a consumption tax is. It says, look, we wouldn't have an income tax. We instead would have a sales tax or a consumption tax on everything we buy that's new. And that number would be about 23%, a tax rate on everything we buy. And that levels the playing field in some respects. It's a lot simpler to enforce than an income tax system, and so it has those attractive features. Another attractive feature is it helps exports. It makes us more competitive as we sell goods around the world. So I like those features. The vision of it that we see so far is one called the fair tax. And the challenge that I have with the fair tax is that by virtue of the calculations done, it lowers the taxes a lot for the very highest income people and for people at the very lowest end of the economic system, but it raises the taxes for people in the middle. And my intent is to lower taxes on the people in the middle, right? So I'm trying to find a way to get taxes down for the people that have been hurt most by the Obama economy.
But sometime back in the 60s, there was a political philosophy which became attractive in America, which said basically that if we have a problem in this country, that government can solve it. That if we have a housing problem, why government will create public housing and solve it. If we have a crime problem, why crime is a social problem, so we'll re-engineer our society. We'll bring down the time served for certain crimes, and we'll solve the problem of crime. We'll rehabilitate criminals. If we have a problem of poverty in our country, government will focus on that problem and will solve it. Basically, the idea was that we could take government thinking, government individuals, government programs, and money, and government and money could solve all of our problems. At the same time that was going on, the traditional institutions that had solved our problems, families, churches, charities, small businesses, schools, those are sort of pushed aside as the federal government took a larger and larger role solving America's problems. The result, in my view, has been disastrous. Disastrous. Violent crime since then has risen 560%. The average sentence served for murder, I'm told, has declined to 5.5 years. Average sentence served for rape, 3 years. What's happened in education? It's failing us. Look at our scores. Look what's happening to our kids. Do you realize perhaps the greatest sadness is that 30% of all children born in America today are born out of wedlock? We have subsidized a behavior that in many respects is killing education and killing our ability to compete as a great society. We have also, what's happened in the area of poverty? The very people we were trying to help with all these programs seem to have been most affected negatively. We've always had poverty in our country, but now people are locked in poverty, can't climb out of it. Our poverty programs have made poverty an intractable condition for millions of Americans. And I look at those things and say, we have got to change our course. We are a sick society.
I absolutely can. And the process I'm going to begin when I'm governor is going through all of the agencies of government and doing a top-down analysis to look for opportunities for savings. And then I'm going to take my budget teams and go through all of the agencies as well, line item by line item, and build a bottoms-up review to see every place that we can take out waste.
We have also, what's happened in the area of poverty? The very people we were trying to help with all these programs seem to have been most affected negatively. We've always had poverty in our country, but now people are locked in poverty, can't climb out of it. Our poverty programs have made poverty an intractable condition for millions of Americans. And I look at those things and say, we have got to change our course. We are a sick society.
That's right.
You've criticized Ms. O'Brien for her, quote, Beacon Hill pals. Then you said, quote, it's not a Republican mess, it's not a Democratic mess, it's a mess on Beacon Hill because we've got people who've been there way too long. Do you believe that House Speaker Tom Finnerton's been there too long?
Absolutely.
Do you believe that Senate President hopeful Robert Travellini has been there too long?
I don't know how many years he's been there, so I can't tell you that answer, but I believe in the concept of term limits.
Okay.
Every 6 years, you get a senator coming to a state with one of those big cardboard checks. And they have a whole file folder of them, and they try and convince you that all the money that comes here comes because of their clout. 2 years from now, it'll be John Kerry's turn. But the taxpayers of Massachusetts are seeing through that. And they recognize that those checks are drawn on their bank accounts. That we're the ones that are paying for all that pork.